my brain wanders and it turns off. And I get distracted by butterflies. I don't think linearly. I don't speak linearly. I don't have clear verbal clarity of what I see in people's bodies when I do energy work. And I think that's fine. I really do. There is magic in me, and there is magic in all of us. Even when it doesn't come out in really linear, perfectly tied in a bow, knots, spaces. And we all still get to be here. The kind of language, the kind of like the ways of expressing knowledge that is in books, that's in, our educational system, is in our dissertations and theses. All of those are born of whiteness, white supremacy culture. You don't see any traditional societies of people frantically writing things down that need to be shared, because they're busy living. They're busy living it. They're busy taking 15,000 years worth of information and handing it down to their children, to the younger generation that is eager to receive, that trusts them. This is the kind of information that I'm interested in. I'm interested in learning from decolonized spaces. I'm learning, I'm interested in sharing with my kids in that way. They go to school. My son goes to school. He's in 4th grade. I haven't figured out how to undo everything, but I take it so lightly. Like, in school, I take it lightly. Doesn't want to do his homework, doesn't have to do his homework. There's a constant paying attention to what is making you feel stressed and urgent, and figuring out a way to unfucking hook from the urgency, because nothing here is urgent. There's no, they got these like timed multiplication tests. And it's wild. I asked him, he brought it home and he got a 76 out of 100, and you're supposed to get all 100 within 5 minutes. And so I think, one of the recent tests he got 76. And he's like, oh, it was even fewer than the last time. So we were talking about how anxious he gets, how kind of nervous, or, how he's got a whole plan for trying to get it right. And that is to madly go through and be do I know this one? Just randomly skip to all the ones that he thinks he knows. And all the ones that he left blank, I asked him, I said, oh, what's this one? And it took him a second. And he's like, oh, I know that one. I know that one. I know that one. It's, it's not lightning fast, but he knows it. And it's like our obsession with urgency, with clarity, with perfection, it's all, every single one of those things comes from colonization, comes from like my white ancestors who experienced horrific shit in Europe and then decided how the world needed to be and went and did horrific shit everywhere else in the world. And so I hold every single one of these colonial institutions so lightly. Like medicine, that's what we have. I get it. If you break a bone, there aren't that many, medicine people that can like help you with that, because that kind of information has been, murdered out of a lot of different places. But so yeah, like, okay, go to the hospital, whatever. But like, Western medicine doesn't have anything for me. It doesn't have anything for us. I heard there was a native elder on the radio once, and he said something that I completely agree with. Well, after he said it, I agreed with it. He said that science is for people who have lost their magic. And that took a minute to sit with. But it's amazing. It's amazing, like the amount of knowledge that we have access to that comes from like deep intuition. There's so much intuitive power that all of us have. And so, yeah, like if we've cut our relationship with our magic, with our intuition, with our ability to ask like creation energy, to be able to like ask the trees, the animals for guidance, the ancestors for guidance, if we've cut every single one of those ties, then yeah, we're going to need science. We're going to need rigorous science to say, like, to ask a question and then test and test and test. But as somebody, I experienced a lot of relational trauma when I was little. And so, like, the science that came through about, like the social things or how people are was always like backwards. Different medicines like just like wouldn't work on me in the strangest ways. Like I've been sort of I've been an outlier in like scientific studies constantly. And I think that that's really what has brought me to where I am now, is that like the things that are socially accepted as like, this is how you heal, this is how you live, this is how you, this is what you do with your children, this is how you, this is how you eat. None of those things have ever worked well for me. And most of them have like worked really terribly. And so I've really had to go out and find my own answers. And there's been a lot of different clues in a lot of different places. But colonial institutions, I hold no reverence for them. I don't hold any reverence for Western medicine, for our educational system, for our government, like the way that we have organized our government. I definitely don't hold any for law enforcement. And from a place of, in my own heart and in my own mind, elevating Indigenous wisdom, I also know that none of these need to like burn to the ground immediately. Like, this is not, there are people inside of every one of those institutions that, you know, like those institutions are like, they're buildings, they're a set of rules, they're like, you know, objects or something, but like the people in it, like, they're fine. Like, you know, the people don't have to go, obviously. It's the institutions. And we are not institutions. We think we are sometimes, right? It's like, you can't criticize education without sometimes people feeling, you know, teachers feeling like, oh, like, how dare you? I've experienced a lot of this with mental health, institutional mental health. I don't find anything there useful for us. I don't think the institution of therapy is useful at all. I don't think it does anything. I think there are some really great people who are therapists, and I think they do a really great job at, like, you know, loving on their clients and like helping people feel seen and heard in ways that they have never before. That has nothing to do with the institution of mental health. You know, those people would be great healers outside of ethics boards. Like, nobody's a good, nobody's like a good therapist because of an ethics board, right? Nobody's like, oh, like, I'm ethical because this thing told me I have to be ethical. It's like, that's not how that works. You know, it's the community. It's your own heart. It's like the people allowing you to be in your heart. That creates these my brain went away. I'm looking at lemons outside. Yeah, maybe that's all I want to share today, but I just want to invite you. I want to talk slower. I want to say more in like circuitous ways that are not perfect. And I would love if you're listening and I get bored. You know, I pause. Like, in my videos, like, it's amazing how many pauses I have to edit out. And it always kind of breaks my heart. Because I'm like, oh, those are the spaces where I'm like, yeah, we can take a breath. We can like ingest things, digest them. My sister, I was giving, she was reading something the other day and like fell asleep after the first couple sentences. And I feel like we can often have judgment around that, like, oh, but you're supposed to learn better. But it was like, yeah, like, you needed to sleep. Your body was like, this is how much I can hear right now. I need to integrate this. The best way to integrate anything is sleep. So I'm gonna sleep. And then maybe I'll come back to it later. So yeah, I just want to I want to go first. I want to go first and give us more time for integration, more time for meandering conversation that doesn't really have to have like a full wrapped up point. Yeah, just be a little slower. So thanks for being here with me.